All right, there we go. Yeah, understanding relationships. So since I've been dealing with the relationship game, I'm starting to notice just gaps within myself, things that I'm missing on, things that you got to kind of learn how to ride with. And I think that's why most guys are kind of staring out of it because you realize how much turbulence is in the game from the very beginning. You kind of like work. It's like, how do I put it? It's like you're learn how to work kinks out with another person. Like you're used to running by yourself, you're doing what you're doing, but then you add somebody else, almost like doing like a hacky sack race in life. And you're moving too fast, and you tripping and shit. You're like, what the fuck? Why am I tripping? But yeah, just figuring out that you have to learn how to walk again, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Doing things for you is one thing. But when you're doing things with another person, it's a whole. It comes with a whole different dynamic.
Mm.
And so you got to learn that person. And when you're learning that person, you're learning to trust them, and you're also asking them to trust you.
Yeah, that was a big one. I didn't realize all the damn, I think he coming in and out. All the, like, I guess you would say trust issues, or just you don't realize how untrustful you are with people when you're like a single guy. Like my girl was telling me, a lot of dudes have antisocial behavior. She started pointing out a lot of antisocial behavior I had. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? But as I'm interacting, I'm starting to realize, like, oh, I get it now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like you can't. How can I put it? There's a lot of tendencies and things you build in yourself that you don't even realize because there's no feedback within your system.
Right. It's just echo chambers a lot, and just like single women go through it, single men go through it too.
Right. We're
You
much
know.
more alike than we like to think we are.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one I started picking up on. But yeah, speaking on the echo chamber though.
Yeah, well, it's like the red pill content. It becomes an echo chamber of guys just saying what regurgitating what the next guy has already previously said about women. In dating, and you start getting a lot of echoes, but you don't get a lot of strategies.
Mm.
It's like, oh man, she just want me for my money. Da 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 da. Yeah, you can hear that. You're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear that echo amongst single guys who haven't established themselves, but you're not gonna hear the strategy of how do I overcome that? How do I overcome dealing with the gold digger? How do I overcome dealing with the chick who thinks all I want is sex? How do I overcome those things? And those are the things that we rarely get to hear from.
Makes sense. Because that's what I'm starting to notice with a lot of guys. They're speaking from a place that they're not. Like they're putting themselves. They're talking like they're millionaires that they all got something to lose. It was like, bro, like, yeah, like that's one thing I didn't recognize too. Because I'm looking at the marriage thing. I'm like, yeah, maybe she might get me in 20 years, but right now, like, what is she taking? Like, she divorced me now. What would she take? You gonna take my rented apartment, my car that's not paid off? Like, yeah, like, so you start lodging when you're actually in it. You start thinking about it.
All she gonna take from me is my hopes.
Like, oh yeah. You start to realize how ridiculous it kind of sounds, and the only guys that kind of have to worry about that type of things are guys who are already self-made and already living that type of life.
Right, which is very few guys. It's not as many
Not as many as
guys
you
as you would think.
think. Right. Which is funny. And like we had this conversation because like one of the things I'm starting to realize too is how difficult it is to kind of give like running a business. Like I one of the things I've started realizing as I've been running my business and now trying to integrate her on is like, damn, I don't have any real systems processes. Like how difficult it is to integrate somebody into your existence.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize the difficulty of that. Like I didn't realize, damn, like, yeah, I got all these ideas and things I got to do, but there's no systematic thing in place. And that's what I've been really brainstorming, like figuring out, okay, what's the baseline? What am I doing with this? How much can she contribute? What can I give her that's manageable, that's not overwhelming? How much can I actually teach? And I'm like, holy shit, like I gotta do this for my like employees. And you start to realize like the business of life is a motherfucker. It's just no joke.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stress on a man, a lot of strain.
Men definitely take the brunt of the responsibility and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Many women, for the most part, they don't take the accountability. They don't take the responsibility for it.
Right. And I can't even expect that from her. That'd be unfair. Because, like, once again, I'm the older one. I'm the leader of the group. So I'm kind of, I have to have everything in order. Like, she's coming into my life. It'd be different. But then again, if you're coming into a woman's life, then you got some deep problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, it's also interesting. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's for a younger male. It's almost 10 times out of 10 hardest if you try to maintain in a woman's domain.
Mm. You can't.
Yeah.
That brings me to there's another video that was circulating. I don't know if I can find it, but it was a young lady. She's saying she was 29. She's waiting for her man. She wants love in her life, and she's saying like, I built my life where I'm ready to have a man. Like I got my house, I got this, and so forth and so forth. All I'm hearing is like, geez, like red flag, red flag, red flag, because it's like for two lives to integrate, somebody has to give into somebody else's domain, or if not, you got just two separate entities working in a conglomerate. It's not a union. It's just two.
Right.
Yeah. And so typically, if a dude has his life already in order, for the most part, like he's not in a hurry to bring somebody in. I guess that makes some sense. It's like if a man has peace, his peace is more important than his adding somebody new into his life. But you kind of realize women are exactly the opposite. Women are looking to find peace, but they don't want to give up the power or give up like what they have already in their life.
Because traditionally in the West, they've never had to sacrifice.
Right.
When you talk about a Western woman in finance, they have never had to really sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
But men come into the game expecting, okay, if I want a girlfriend, I gotta take her out. I gotta spend money. I gotta give her money for shopping. I'm at some point you already calculated the cost. It's like building a house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the females, when they do it, that's why when a woman makes $50,000 a year, $75,000 a year, she's not in a place to think of that she has to spend that money on her man or on her relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh no, this is my money. I get to spend all my money on just me. You know what I'm saying?
It's terrible for the long run because like that trying to maintain that independence. It's like a guy's like, well, I could just be independent alone. I don't need to add somebody else into my independence. That don't make any sense.
Right.
If I'm already alone, I might as well just be alone. Why am I paying money to be alone? And like my girl, she pointed out something interesting because she always be putting me on these TikToks. That's another thing too. When women put you in, they show you different things that they watch on media. She introduced me to this lady, Shira or whatever. She was dating like a 40 something. She was 24 when she met this guy who's 40. Now she's like in her 40s. The guy's in his 60s, 70s. But she was always speaking about understanding how to just navigate the field with a man. Like there's something instinctual with a man, like there's some trigger thing in a man that makes you want to take care of a woman. And I was like, I was kind of explaining to my girl, I don't know what that thing is. I don't know what you're doing, but you put me in a state where it's like I desire to take care of you, I desire to make sure you're okay. I don't mind covering the cost. It don't bug me. Which is interesting. I never had that particular instinct when dealing with other women. And one of the things you realize, what the lady was talking about, the older lady, she was saying a lot of women, they want to be independent. They want to have their own thing, but they still want to keep the man around. And the man's like, well, look, if I'm not needed, why the hell am I here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the biggest one for most guys is like, if I'm not needed, if you don't need me, what the fuck am I here for? Why even be here? There's something intrinsic. There's an intrinsic value. Oh, man. Let's see my camera. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There you go.
All right. There we go. There. Yeah, something intrinsic within a man when he knows that he's needed. You just want to stay around. It feels good to be looked at as like the hero, just fixing shit, bringing money in. It makes you feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me that most women don't know how to tap into that particular thing within a man.
Well, yeah, they want most guys they are so used to hearing man is supposed to protect and provide. Protect and provide. That's what a man's supposed to do. Protect and provide. Well, they've heard that so much to where, you start, expecting that that interaction with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
To where if you feel like you're not protecting and providing, you're not being a man.
True. And it's an interesting but it's it. Wait 1 second. Do I have a yeah, the protect and providing thing. Oh, give me 1 second. Let me pause that real quick. My apologies.
Oh no, you're right.
Yeah, but that's what I'm realizing. Most women don't know how to tap into that particular phase. And that will make you feel they don't understand. They're missing out on a whole market for themselves. Like by holding on to this, it's like an independent thing. And then one thing my lady pointed out was something about the birth control. And I heard this from other people. It's like it's turning women into guys, basically.
Yeah,
like it's messing up the hormonal systems or something of that nature.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that one. On the estrogen levels aren't the same. Women are behaving with much more testosterone, but the expectations is still the same.
Mm.
See, women they have it in a very strange position. They want the equality of the workforce, but they don't want the responsibility of the equality.
Mm-hmm.
Like they want to be able to make the same amount of money, they want to be able to have the same amount of opportunities. But when you say, okay, when now men should be able to depend on you as a breadwinner, they don't want that. They still want the traditional role of the man,
right,
being financially responsible.
And that messes up the whole system.
Well, yeah, hell yeah.
Give me something. This shit fading in and out. Give me a second, brother. Yeah. My camera doing all fine. I should do a little bit of testing. Let's see. Give me a second. This shit funny. There we go. Yeah, two things running at once. Yeah, that's what's blowing up the system. Because now guys are just bowing out. And what guys are starting to realize, I was talking to Jesus Christ, another young man. He was kind of telling me about like the job market is so unfair to your average male because there are certain jobs like administration duties that are always going to be leaning towards women. Where there's certain things like the government jobs, government jobs, municipalities, schools, and so forth and so forth. Even in business with the admin, the last people that usually get fired like the admin positions. It's the specialists, which are usually men who go into like the niche positions because they're men kind of figure out if I do something very, very well, I'm the only person that does it. That's when I get the highest pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, most women they kind of fall into the generalist position, which is like the basic thing, like secretary, accounting, blah blah blah, so forth. And so what happens is you got like these essentially like a bubble, and like what we're starting to see is now like the tech bubble, I guess you would say. The tech bubble put in all these different jobs that were basically fake email jobs during the pandemic because all these people were online, so they needed way more people to basically come in and maintain these things. But now that they started firing people, it's like a lot of the women are keeping their jobs, even though they're not making that much money. $50,000 or $40,000 is much better than having zero.
Yes.
And so you got a lot of dudes that just can't, like, their only other options are go learn a trade, get out there in the construction yard and start slinging hammers.
Yep.
And so if you're not a physically equipped dude, if you don't have, say, like a super valuable skill set that's more blue collar, that has to be like man dominated, oil field shit like that, you're basically stuck. You can't date your female counterpart because you just don't have the finances and you don't have the skill set of the man hands, I guess you would say. The great equalizer or power drill to be able to fix things to bring the equalizing force, so you don't have to call a man to come fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have this interesting thing. I was almost saying it's more difficult for women in the dating field in today's age, or maybe it's always been more difficult for women than it is for the dudes. At least in today's time, as a dude, there's a lot of things you can do that are just man things that people are just too lazy to get up and do every day.
Yeah.
Like
especially if you're an able-bodied fit man.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a huge one. Like I found out the other day on a job, the guy was telling me you can get a job basically just delivering packages across state lines. Like there's an authority release or something like that where essentially you can get like a Sprinter van and say like a hospital needs to have blood transported or somebody needs to have this. You can just pick up a thing of cargo, drive it across state lines overnight, and you can mess around and make 20, 30 bands in a month if you just do that the whole month. Then you can relax for a month or whatever you want to do. Then you eventually hire people out, get your own vans. And I'm like, oh, I need to start looking into this. That's not a bad. It's like you don't need a trucker's license. You can just get a Sprinter van or a pickup truck or anything that carries it.
Mm-hmm. Medical couriers,
right? And so there's like those are jobs that typically women just not going to do because you're going across lines, you're sleeping out your van. It's not safe for women. Most women are just not going to want to be in that put themselves in that level of risk.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing like cutting trees down, moving things. Like the moving, the moving industry is huge right now. If you can find some able-bodied dudes to do it, but you can't find any able-bodied guys. All you get is old guys, and they're kind of they're not in the best
physical shape,
right? Because the young man of today is either zesty or just so weak. He doesn't have a physical body to be able to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I look at those things and I wonder, okay, what does that lead to for the future of dating or the future of just mating and kids and family? Where does that put us in 20, 30 years from this particular day and age we got?
It's going to be a crunch time. It's definitely going to be a crunch time because when you think about it, today's young male, I don't see a lot of hope for him. You know what I'm saying?
It's not funny, but it's true. Yeah.
You know, when a fight break out with two females, the first thing they do is grab their phone and start recording. You know,
it's true.
You know, they don't break stuff up. It's very little difference. Like they argue with females, like they, you know, like.
No, you ain't lying. And then another thing I'm starting to see too is with like just the Give me a second. Is the like the what you call it? I would say when it comes to women like interacting with each other, the more single women, the more single childless women that you have in a group, the more likely me or girls are. They're more likely they're always willing to self-sabotage each other. So if majority of if majority of the women don't have kids, not married, so forth and so forth, they're going to try to basically steer other women into that pathway. And like one of the things
misery loves company,
right? And one of the things I've noticed about social media is you rarely ever see married happy couples on social media because they are being married and happy.
Yeah.
Like I started noticing even myself since I started dating my girl. I don't even get on the internet. Like I'm not on Twitter and everything else as much as I used to. I kind of just like, oh, well, we just go do stuff in real life, work, talk to my girl, work out, enjoy life. And I don't care as much. I'm pretty happy. And I'm not gonna say happy, content, and busy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, I don't got time to be over here. Like, unless it's about money, I don't care really too much. I just don't. I'm not all that intrigued to talk about it. Yeah. So it's interesting because as we see social media, like more and more women are kind of having these, like, I guess you would say, breakdown videos. Where they're basically just crashing out on the internet, like crying, like I can't find a man. Why is there no man? I used to think that some guy would just come up to me and he will take me off my feet and marry me. And like now I'm starting to think I might die alone.
Well, because reality starts setting in. Mm-hmm. See, that's one thing, man. You can lie to other people for a long time, but there's only so much time that you can lie to yourself.
Right.
You know. And so a lot of females out there, they've been lying to themselves so long that they're crashing out.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had that support group, that support system,
right?
That says you're all right, girl. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Oh, he just can't handle you. They just can't handle a woman like you and all this bullshit.
Right.
But really, at the end of the day, you know, when the social media cameras get cut off, when she's staring down that she's in the danger zone, she's 30 plus years old. She's no prospects. You know, no men have tried to ask her for marriage. You know, they know that, you know, you just a fuck buddy, you know.
Mm-hmm. You know. That's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Looks like your camera is on play. What the? Give me a second. I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's what's starting to basically be recognized now. And another thing that I think a lot of the single woman epidemic, why it's also a huge issue. Wait a second. Yeah, another issue I think of that is that as you have more like single women, especially if they're not like a child, like if they can no longer have a child, it's going to kind of take away and almost add to the Playboy lifestyle. So there's more women from guys who choose to like the guys who would be family men. You almost get paralyzed by choice to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you have like where there's so few males who are marriage minded and have the ability to, like, not just marriage minded, but actually have the resources to kind of get started, there'll be so few and far in between. It'd be pretty difficult for a lot of guys to choose if you have 20 women trying to vouch for your hand in marriage. Because like, what is your reason to settle down? Especially if you like the more money you make and the better off you are in life, it becomes harder for a man to trust because you don't know if they're trusting you for your finance. And then there's nobody teaching that particular skill set. how you can differentiate from a woman who's actually for you or somebody who just wants to rob you for your gold. It's like it's an interesting dilemma.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you got it's just, and another thing I started to peep out too is a lot of people are just opting out the kids completely. They've been scared off through propaganda that like, oh my god, kids cost you $300,000, $400,000 per kid. And I'm like, hold up a second, like what? Where are you getting this number from? Like, I'm not saying that kids are cheap, but $300,000. I mean, there was people having kids in the Great Depression, people having kids through all different eras. I don't think it ever cost that much to raise a kid. The kids kind of eat what you eat. You might have to stretch things out a little bit more. But you got people who are working double jobs, probably making a combined, Jesus, like 150, 102, almost close to $200,000, and they're scared to have kids, which is amazing to me. Like, I don't get that that mindset.
Well, it depends on where they at too. If they're in San Francisco or California, man, I can understand why they still be kind of scared to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because 150,000 out there ain't nothing.
Yeah, you tell me. It's no joke. But I tend to think like, man, if I had $100,000, if I'm making $100,000 a year, I'm like, let's get the family started now. Like, I think I'll figure it out with that. I've been keeping myself alive way less than that. Yeah. I figured like a fraction of that. Jesus Christ. So it's like the more I kind of think about it, it's like the propaganda of people being scared to have kids, on top of just the shortage of males that are willing to even take on the duty of being a father, and combine that with like inflation, everything else, we're due for like a population decline, like a huge population drop off. At least in the States.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because what are you going to do with all these houses and all these apartment buildings that can no longer, like, you don't have anybody renting them?
Well, like, they'll do what they've always done, man. Destroy and breed another class.
Breed another class. What do you mean?
I mean, kind of garner another immigrant class to come in.
Interesting. That sounds about right. Like, I like something that kind of, on a separate note, it kind of gives me hope in Austin. Like, they're doing all these housing developments and building all this stuff in Austin, but there's been a lot of tech layoffs, and then a lot of people are fleeing. Like, for the first time, I think in 6 or 7 years, Austin has had a population decline. So more and more people are leaving as they're building more and more development and housing. I'm like, oh, in about 2 or 3 years, I might be able to get these a lot of these houses for like the cheap. To be honest with you, they might not need as much.
Yeah, especially if you find some good foreclosures.
Right. And like, that's what I'm starting to look. I'm like, okay, like there is some bright sides to a lot of these things. I kind of think you should zig while everybody's zagging. So if everybody's choosing not to have kids, not to build a family, not to get married, I think that might be the best time to get married and have kids. I think at some point in time we might start putting some incentives to kind of like how China did the one-child policy, but we do a 5-child policy. Like, the more kids you have, the more tax breaks, the more things we're going to give you, more refunds.
I personally think this is just my personal. America is fucked. Because, well, let me explain. They've allowed a few people at the top to try to make broad decisions that affect everyone, but they're affecting everyone negatively. There's more than enough land for people in the Americas to have as many children as they want. There's more than enough resources here. What you have is the greed of a few. When I say a handful, I mean probably less than 200 people maybe 75 run the world. And instead of implementing policies that's going to grow, they're implementing policies that are crushing. That's why people don't want to have children.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't, the current financial model is, for lack of better words, unsustainable. There's no more middle class. It's getting like everywhere else, third world countries, either you're rich or you're poor. And that's what made America different. That's what made America great, was the fact that you had the middle class.
Mm.
And you could take somebody with a high school education or junior high education, and they could make $50,000, $60,000 a year working at a plant.
That don't even exist no more.
Right.
Like the days of the pension, unless you work for the government or municipality or school district, there is no more pension.
Right.
And then if you work those jobs, like there is no advancement. You kind of stuck there forever.
Right.
So it's almost what's the word? Yeah, it's almost a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're forced to either be an entrepreneur. Then if you don't have any entrepreneurship in you, it's gonna be a tough sledding.
Mm-hmm.
Even with entrepreneurship, it's still a tough sledding.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that's messing America up, they don't have universal income.
Mm-hmm.
They should have been one of the first nations to jump on the idea of universal income. There should not be extreme poverty in America.
Yeah, I remember you told me about that. Like how in America, whatever, I think you said what was like $20 billion we can fix this entire homelessness problem, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You explain there's so many people they got so much money they can't even spend it, even if they wanted to spend all of it. They're making too much on their index funds. It's to the point where it's just no point.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fascinating. I think there's that much wealth out there and it's just trapped.
Not only that, but there's a certain level of wealth that you get to, which it makes you a target.
Mm-hmm. Well, expand on that a little bit.
Well, it makes you a target because now other groups want to do harm to you because you got that much wealth.
Mm.
That's why other nations like Gaddafi, when he was in Libya, the Libyan citizens, they went to school for free, they had health care for free, and the government gave them like 75,000 each.
Mm.
But if you say the U.S. government gonna hand out checks of 75,000 to everybody, people will look at you like you smoking crack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you think? Well, I know it's a couple people at the top. But it's like even with our population, because what is that? You said Gaddafi. What's
Yeah, Gaddafi in Libya. He's dead now. They killed him, but you know.
Yeah. Well, the population size, does that make a difference? Like, does that change the game when you have so many people to deal with?
It does to a small degree, but not when it comes to spreading out the wealth.
Mm. Human beings.
When you don't spread, it's just like when you don't spread the wealth out, you create enemies.
Right. Needlessly.
Right. It's just like if you go into the bank, or I ain't gonna say the bank. Let's say you coming out of a restaurant, and let's say it's 100 homeless people outside, but you got a to-go plate, and on your to-go plate you got steak, mashed potatoes, baked potato, you got quesadillas, you got chicken strips, you got you know what I'm saying, crab legs, you got all this smorgasbord worth of stuff, and you trying to come out, but it's 100 homeless, hungry people outside.
Yeah, you'd be
What do
lucky
you
they don't
think's
rush
gonna
you.
happen?
Yeah,
Right.
you'd be lucky they don't rush you. That's a fascinating. It sounds so simple, but you think
That's what
I
happened
don't
in
know.
South Africa.
Was that too many? The Africans started to basically take over the white Africans there.
Right.
They saw the wealth change. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they just started taking it.
Like, all right.
It's almost like, yeah, if you're proactive, if you're proactive with the money, people are less likely to like, hey, that's the good guy that comes through and gives us stuff. But if they got to come to you, that you got an issue.
Right.
Which is interesting. I'm curious to see how the internet changes this. Because eventually these super uber wealthy people, at some point, they do have to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I think, like, what we're kind of almost, let's see, I'm 30 something. Yeah, by the time, within, I'll say about 20, 30 years, everybody that would exist on the planet would be internet savvy to some degree. Like, we would have been raised with the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were talking about Gen Alpha is which is like the kids from 0 to like 7. These kids are supposed to be they're supposed to be baby boomers 2.0. They're supposed to be entering into the greatest prosperity age of humanity history by the time they reach my age. And what I largely think is how can I put it? It's like I see the boomers are the older people in the workplace, like the Hillary Clinton like email scandal. Like, it's a side note, but she got caught up deleting emails, and she thought if I delete my emails, the emails are just gone forever. Not realizing that there's cookies, there's IP address, that we can see exactly what you did when you delete them. We can see that you delete them after you found out that you're sending shit that you weren't supposed to. Like, she wasn't even computer savvy enough to know you're not supposed to send things that you don't want people to see on your email from your work computer.
Right.
So we're talking about like dinosaurs, essentially, like the way they think.
Right.
So I think to some degree, once these people pass on and we get to maybe 20, 30 years from now, when it's like maybe my age group starts to come into fruition, there will be some massive transfer of wealth where we kind of realize, hey, look, we're doing this all wrong. Like this, like America's looking like a hellscape.
It's already like that now.
Yeah.
If you look at Tokyo and Japan, how socially aware and socially conscious they are, they don't let you litter. Their kids, they don't have final exams.
Really?
Yeah. Their test is how they treat other people in society.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. That's amazing. Because that would lead to a better society if you just always keep. I think about this just as a teacher, educator. If you're always nurturing people throughout, not just when they get out of school. Cause I think that's another fucking thing we do. We nurture these kids that are considered gifted as young people. And then as soon as they kind of show that, okay, he's a wonder kid that's in high school or wonder kid that goes to college, as soon as they get out to the world, it's like, all right, best of luck to you. And you just let them go.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more nurturing. So you get a lot of people who are stuck at 18 and just grow into 45, 60.
A lot.
That's the grand majority of people. There's no adult education. Like, that's one of the things I realized one of my old jobs. How many people showed up just for computer literacy? 40, 50-year-old people. Just learn how to use a computer. I'm like, damn, I didn't know this was actually a need.
Yep. Huge need.
Like, I just want to learn how to use Microsoft Word so I can send emails. I'm like, what? It's 2024. How you don't know how to send emails? You don't know how to make a PowerPoint? I'm like, no, you bullshitting me? And so, like, and I didn't realize, like, just the basic competency of most things, like just reading, writing. Dude, we're so far behind America.
Way behind.
Like I laugh at me and my girl. I be telling her like everybody's functionally illiterate, like what you told me. Come like what the average American reads at a 5th grade level. That means more than half. That means yeah, at least half of them don't read past the 5th grade level. And then like imagine how many actually read at a college level. We're talking maybe
very few,
5-10% people.
Very few.
So I'm like, I'm just like in my math, when I'm doing my math, and I'm like, no wonder this is a failed society. No wonder voting everything. I'm starting to realize, no wonder everything's all fucked up. Nobody knows how to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're telling us there's no jobs available, but a lot of times what I think is like the people who hire for the jobs have no idea what the actual job is. Like
They
you
don't.
got. So say yeah, no wonder they don't think anybody's competent. Like they keep getting like it's just a lot of things. You start to realize why so many organizations are fucked up, why the government's all fucked up. You realize why it's just a lack of basics and just no nurturing. People just atrophy, pure atrophy of our society.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, I don't know if we can even fix it. Maybe
we would have to fixed. It's gonna take people who run the financial sector
to be better human beings,
to be not as selfish.
Is that possible? I think money, to some degree, if all you do is deal with money all day, it kind of erodes you as a human to some degree.
I definitely agree with that.
Or you don't see people no more. You just see numbers all day. That's it. Everybody's everybody's a walking number figure. Well, yeah, it's just trippy, man. As you lose, go ahead.
Oh no, and I was saying that's the problem with the world. When you have a detachment from life and society, you stunt your own growth.
True.
You stunt your own growth, and that's why you're starting to see other nations rise up better than the U.S. And even though the U.S. had, as far as the head start, financially, they're not doing as well because they don't have the grassroots that other countries are having.
Right. It's like a trust fund kid that got a bunch of a huge sum of money. It's like, yeah, every once in a while, some things that you hit, they're gonna pay off and give you a nice little return, like war. Yeah, war. Yeah, initially funding wars and stuff like that. Yeah, it's gonna get you a little bit of cash flow, but over time, that's probably not the best long term strategy for you to be a arms dealer.
Right.
Because what happens when nations decide to have peace and they're just not fighting? What are you gonna
do? That's when you create another government agency to interrupt that peace.
Right. Even then, it's like how much can you? It might like what you call it will give a catalyst, but that catalyst loses its. It's almost like taking painkillers. Yeah, you can put some painkillers in you that Toradol might work the first time, but then you got to put more and more and more. So now you got to do more and more to get these wars going off. And then eventually, people are just like, man, we tired of fighting. Like I lost my cousin, my brother, my mom, my dad, my grandpa. I don't care no more. I'm not fighting. And I think that's what's starting to happen now with the spread, especially with the spread of the internet. it's like the U.S. Army can't even get people to volunteer. They're taking from the worst of the worst, the reserves, like the people that people who are illiterate, couldn't pass the hazmat, couldn't run. They're just taking whoever they can get because nobody's enlisting. They're extending age dates. They're lowering down the requirements. They still can't fill enough people. Same thing with the police department, fire departments. We have done such a terrible job with the such a terrible job with like kind of putting them in the light of good. Well, I'm not gonna say that. They kind of did this to themselves, like the few bad apples. But the internet has proliferated, and all these people who have voices now because everybody's their own media center have pretty much tarnished the image of all these roles. Like people are just like, "Fuck that! I ain't doing that. You can't pay me to be a police officer. Deal with these fucking lunatics." And you got people there. If I shoot somebody, if I do anything wrong, like if I should shoot a black person, not saying if you shoot a black person is always right, but if you're justified in shooting somebody, now they want to come get your head.
Yeah.
Teachers are just like they're showing the pictures, like teachers getting beat up. Like they can't find nobody to teach. So like our infrastructure, the very thing that keeps and maintains like the infrastructure, essentially just is all crumbling. We're not building people no more. We're not protecting people no more. Nobody wants to do that shit. All we got is a bunch of clowns now.
And that costs.
Yeah.
It's serious. It's costly.
Right. It's wild, man. Just the sanity of life.
Yeah, it's costly. Because once you start having society crumble at the grassroots level, then you're gonna have the federal government is gonna crumble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if you saw. There's another video, and we're starting to see it now. Like even like the maintain the image of a political figure, just being what's it? Is politician or political like, or what's the word? Maintaining a positive public image, or is it political?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got AOC and like another old lady sitting there calling each other old. You look wrinkly. You built like a bag of rice. I'm like, what the fuck? Like this is
degeneracy.
Yeah, I'm like, this is in public office on the record. What the fuck is going on here? We got people giving like maybe it started with Bill. Well, it probably just started with JFK. There was no phones and shit to record all this stuff, but it's interesting to see the collapse because it's like a Carney show. It's not even like a full. It's like a slow implosion on itself of degeneracy. We're cannibalizing ourselves from the inside. It's just collapsing on itself. It's amazing to watch. If you kind of step back and get out of it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, for the first time, you got immigrants that don't want to immigrate here no more.
It's amazing. But anyway, appreciate your brother. Go ahead, shut it down. Get some food. Yeah, I'm gonna. I end the stream. Give me a second. Appreciate you guys for listening.